All right, you guys, I am so excited about this series that we have going on for the month of March. So this is my friend Janae. You can find her at Clean Monday Meals on Instagram, right? All one word, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I have brought her in for every Thursday for the month of March. We're going to be talking about meal prep. So people, one of people's main hesitations with starting my challenges or just cleaning up their diet or anything is all the time that it takes to meal prep. And I'm not going to lie, it takes time, right?
Yes.
It just does take time, but it is so worth it. So before we go into our tips and tricks, let me kind of give you an overview of the month. We have a different topic every single Thursday. And these will be happening every Thursday, so there's 5 Thursdays in March. You guys got lucky. And at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay, so we're going to be here. Today we're talking about protein sources. We're going to be talking about carbs. What else do we decide?
Veggies. On-the-go meals. And then we'll teach you how to make like a whole meal.
Yes, that's right. So we've got some great topics, so don't miss any of them, okay? So before we get going, I want Janae to kind of introduce herself and tell you guys her story a little bit, and so you can kind of see why I brought her in as the guest for this. So take it away, Janae.
All right, so let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I am Italian, so if you know Italians, we love food and we love tradition. So growing up, everything tradition was related with food, and every special holiday, we got excited for the food that we were going to eat, and got excited for what was going to happen. My parents did a great job at making the little things important, and traditions were pizza and movie night on Friday, bagel and donuts on Saturday morning, and every single Sunday we had a 3-course Italian meal.
Oh, wow.
Well, almost 3 years ago, kind of my world got turned upside down with my traditions and how I was raised when I was diagnosed with celiac disease. And I realized that I didn't really know what gluten was until I was diagnosed, and I realized that the way that I was raised, all those things that I enjoyed and the traditions I loved involved gluten. And so right after I was diagnosed, I went to a barbecue, and you think that you can eat kind of everything at a barbecue.
Right.
Meats,
veggies,
salads,
corn,
veggies, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got there, and the only thing that I could eat was fruit. There was nothing there because I didn't realize at the time that marinades and seasonings and salad dressings all have wheat in them. They all have gluten. So I left the barbecue, and I was still hungry, and I was frustrated, and those are not a good combination. So I decided that for me, prepping had to be more of like a lifestyle change. And so I've always prepped to get ready for like a trip, to lose weight, those kind of things. I've always prepped food for, and I've always been a pretty good healthy eater. But for me now, like prepping has had to be something I have on hand at all times, because if I go to a barbecue and there's not food I can eat, then I can bring a meal and I'm happy and I'm content because I have that food, where before, like, I would get frustrated and I'd get upset because I couldn't eat anything that was there. So now for me, the reason I prep and the reason I enjoy and I love it is because I always have food on hand for myself, where before, like I said, I got frustrated and angry about it. So that's kind of why I started meal prepping.
And tell them what you do now. You own Clean Monday Meals.
Yes, I do, and I actually prep for some clients. So
yeah, she has a whole meal prep Monday, and she preps for, she just told me 80 to 100 meals a week. It's pretty awesome.
Yes.
So she's meal prep master. Okay.
No.
So
thank you.
First, we're going to talk about some kind of common foods that do take some prep, but aren't really as hard as you thought they'd be. So mainly we're coming down to meats, okay? So things like chicken, steak, fish, eggs, like hard-boiled eggs. We're going to talk about proteins that don't need prep in a little bit, but first, like your main meats, things that I do. Janae doesn't like fish. I like fish. I don't do it a ton though. Chicken, okay, so like I said, chicken, steak, ground beef and ground turkey are easy to just make a big pan of it, and then you can do lots of different things with it. And then your chicken, fish, and hard-boiled eggs. Those are kind of the main ones we're going to talk about. So Janae is going to talk first about her favorite ways to prepare these and just kind of some tips, and then I'll take over with kind of my favorite things after that. So take it away.
Okay, so for chicken, just like a basic chicken, I love using the crock pot for a lot of things. But if you're just throw chicken in a crock pot and add...
Oh, wait, really quick. If you guys have questions about what we're talking about, I have Emily on the camera, so feel free to just ask, and she'll just interrupt us and
she'll answer them.
Yeah, I'll answer them. No, we'll both answer.
So for chicken though, I love to use the crock pot, and if you want just like an easy versatile chicken, you just throw like a salsa in there and like let it cook. And then my favorite tip, if you guys go on my page on Instagram, I use my Bosch for everything, but I use my Bosch to shred my chicken. So when it's warm, I take it out of the oven or the crock pot or whatever I use, and I put it in there, and you just turn it on, and it spins, and it shreds it perfectly. It's amazing. Go watch my video. It's really cool.
When did you post it? So they can scroll down.
I don't remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too long, but it's on there.
Okay. Cool.
So, and then also I love using the Mrs. Dash seasonings because they have no sodium. So they have tons of different flavors. So if you're looking for like something more, this is like the Fiesta line. So like tacos, that kind of stuff. You know, you can do it chicken, you can do it on beef, you can do it on anything. Also, I just found Mrs. Dash has a no salt marinade, which is pretty incredible. And that's sweet teriyaki. So I use it on the chicken, which is really yummy. Another thing that I've discovered is the Bragg's and the coconut aminos. They're liquid aminos, and it's an alternative for soy sauce. So I use that when I'm cooking my chicken, and I'll use it for beef and turkey instead of soy sauce. And if you didn't know, gluten is in soy sauce. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, you wouldn't have guessed. It's one of the first ingredients is wheat in soy sauce. So I've had to change that for gluten perspectives, but also it has a lot less sodium than the normal. I'm trying to think if there's... I use the chicken, I bake it, I put it in the pressure cooker, and I use my crock pot. The beef, I do stovetop, and I bake it, usually if I'll do meatballs or those types of things with beef.
So you will brown it and then put it into whatever you're going to do, and then
yeah.
put it in the oven.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
Kind of
Eggs. What are we going to talk about eggs?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, also with the chicken, after I bake it, and if I'll do like a chicken with salt and pepper on it, and then I'll slice it up really, really thin, kind of like how you can buy like the grilled pre-cut chicken, and then I'll slice it, and then I'll cut it into like little strips, and I'll have that on hand for salads or extra stuff during the week that also like for my kids and that kind of stuff, or for fast dinners, or I'll do like the shredded chicken to throw in something as well. So I'll actually prep extra of that to have on hand just with salt and pepper on it, so nothing extra, then I can season it to what I want to make that day if I need it extra.
Love that. I do the same thing. I love that idea.
So with eggs kind of get boring, and so you kind of have to switch it up. I do eggs over easy, I do them scrambled, I do egg whites. I'll eat eggs with fruit. I know we were talking about this earlier. It's kind of funny, but it gives you extra like sweetness that you need if you're craving a little extra sweet and eggs just get bland. I love avocados on top of my eggs with salt and pepper, and I can't have bread, but my husband loves like toast. If you guys want to put like a whole wheat toast and then put an egg and then avocado on top.
You do that with rice cakes too.
Yeah, you can do it with rice cakes as well. So
yeah. All right, so going off from the eggs too, so I do something kind of weird with eggs a lot, but everyone who has tried it loves it. Okay, you ready? You scramble egg whites, and then you drizzle peanut butter on it. I know, don't freak out. It sounds really gross and weird, but I promise you I've never heard of anyone who tried it and didn't like it. So it's a great protein-fat combo. If you want it like before bed or something, you can even get like some sugar-free Walden's, maple syrup, and pour it over. It's basically like a pancake, pretty much. So
sounds delicious.
Yeah, it is so delicious. So basically the cool thing about egg whites is that they don't have a ton of taste. If you do some salt and pepper on them, they do bring out the natural flavor, but they kind of take on the flavor of whatever you're pairing it with. So like she said, pairing it with fruit, bananas. I've done like fruit omelets. So if you make like a Greek yogurt type of filling, and then fruit, and then wrap it up in an egg white, it's so yummy. So another thing I do when I'm scrambling egg whites, I do scrambled eggs too, but sometimes if I want the fat in a different source besides the yolk, I'll do just the scrambled egg whites. So I scramble them, and then before I flip them, I salt the top lightly, and then I put a couple like sprays of spray butter on it, and then flip it, and then it just tastes more like fried, kind of, which is so yummy. Okay, so my tips, basically, I love to keep, for myself, to keep the flavor of proteins pretty simple, kind of like she was saying, because then you have the option of doing a ton of stuff with it later. So I use a lot of Flavor God seasonings. So Flavor God is low in sodium as well. I think it's no sodium. No, it's just low in sodium. Low in sodium, but I am like kind of a salt lover, because if you're following my challenges and working out hard and drinking a lot of water, your body needs that electrolyte. It's really important, actually. So I use Flavor God, and then I add my own salt to taste. And then, but sometimes I'll just do just salt and pepper, because the cool thing about using a little bit of salt is it enhances just the natural flavor of your food. So if you've ever had like a grapefruit with some salt on it and it tastes way better, that's kind of that whole salt just enhancing the flavor of anything, really.
Yeah, I grew up with sugar on my grapefruit.
Sugar on your grapefruit, yeah. That'll enhance the flavor too.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Another one of my favorites, and I was hesitant to show this one because I think it might be local here in Utah, I'm not sure. Spade L Ranch seasoning. It's so good. Kind of like creates a little crust on your meal. They have like a beef one, chicken, seafood, pork. They might even have a veggie one, I'm not sure. So I use a lot of the same stuff too, but these are kind of some of my favorites that I use a ton of. As for methods, my favorite, I basically alternate between the grill and the crock pot. And so the cool thing about just plain old chicken or steak or yeah, basically, or fish too, is it tastes like a totally different meat when you cook it differently, don't you think?
Totally.
Like if you throw your chicken in the crock pot and shred it with the Bosch, like she was saying, it basically tastes like a different meat when you compare it to grilled sliced chicken. So if you feel like you're bored of just plain old chicken and rice or whatever, try cooking it a different way or seasoning it a different way. Like you'll see here, she's got some fajita seasoning on here. I'm assuming, I actually don't know, but it looks like fajita stuff.
Yes, that's actually something I forgot to say. I make and I love to make my own homemade seasonings.
Oh yeah, talk about that for a minute.
So instead of buying, like at the store you can buy the low sodium fajita packets or the low sodium taco, or like they come with like different flavors. Well, instead, like I'll research and figure out how to make my own flavor seasonings.
So how would you tell them to
combine.
research? Like what would you, like Pinterest or what do you
Yeah, I use Pinterest, but the thing, and I think this is hard, we talked about this too, is I'll take a recipe and I'll transform it to make it gluten-free, to make it healthier. So I try and change or tweak the recipes to how it would work for me or what I think would be best. So I like to do a lot more homemade seasonings and adding like the chili powder or the paprika, the cumin, like all that kind of stuff myself versus, you know, getting a packet.
And then it has the preservatives and everything.
Yeah. So that's another thing I forgot to say, but I like to do that. So like the fajita thing, like that's all like one that I came up with on, not my own, but I took someone's recipe and kind of like tweaked it.
So the cool thing about that too is you kind of get better over time. Like, so if you don't know anything about what seasonings are what culture or kind of food, you can go in the aisles and look at fajita seasoning. Oh, okay, this has this and this and this, and then you can kind of look at see what you have, what individual spices you have at home, and just kind of mess around with it. And then you'll learn, like some people don't even realize that basil is Italian, and you wouldn't put it on like your Asian food or, you know, whatever.
Totally.
But you'll learn that over time and just experience and looking at different recipes and looking at the packets or looking at blends and saying, oh, okay, this is garlic lover, so it's a blend. Has garlic, onions, sea salt, chili pepper, basil, coriander, parsley, and thyme. So maybe you make up something with like, you know, just your garlic, onions, and parsley, or, you know, something like that. You can kind of get an idea from other products what spices pair together well, right? You have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, so cooking, a lot of versatility there, or makes it taste totally different depending on how you cook it. Reheating. I get people that are like, oh, I just can't. I can't reheat chicken.
Totally.
So something that I do, because when you're meal prepping, you have to reheat it.
Totally.
Unless, actually, it's a tangent. You can eat food cold. You can. It's not going to kill you.
I actually like some things cold.
So do I. So do I. And so if you're being really hardcore and you're somewhere and you have this pretty meal and you're like, I can't eat it, I don't have a microwave. You know what that is? That's an excuse. You can eat it anyway. You can eat food cold and you might just find that you like it better. Okay, rant over.
Like my little girl loves broccoli cold. Like I'll cook it and she'll take my broccoli out of my meal prep and eat it cold.
Yeah.
Totally. Like,
you can eat food cold.
Yeah, you totally can.
Yeah. People think that they can't, and so they can't eat healthy because they don't have a microwave. That's an excuse. Okay. Reheating. So one thing I like to do, if I have some chicken breast, like grilled chicken breast, I'll do kind of like what she was saying. I like to slice it really thin, like even thinner than this. I was just kind of in a hurry slicing this. And I'll probably like half that thin. I'll slice it really thin, and then I'll saute it in a pan with either like some spray butter or like just some Pam. And then it's kind of, or if I have like the fat grams, I'll do a little bit of coconut oil or something. And then it like rehydrates it kind of, and so it doesn't dry it out. And it kind of re-toasts it, and I feel like it kind of makes it taste a little, I don't know, brings it back to life for me, sort of. And then, I mean, you can totally still microwave it. That grosses some people out, but you can do it.
It is possible.
Yeah.
No, I get that question all the time about reheating and if I do anything different. And I know some people use toaster ovens instead of like a microwave
or
boiler. And they do that, but I've never had a problem with microwaving my food back up. So
yeah.
I just do it.
Yeah.
Or I eat it cold.
Yeah.
When I'm like driving and I don't have a microwave, I like this salad right here. If I know I'm going to be out, this is a burrito bowl, but I'll just bring a bag of lettuce with me. I'll throw some lettuce on it and I'll just like eat it cold. So you do salads cold, right?
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Okay, so the reheating the chicken. Also, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. Thermometer. I forgot to get it out, but if you have a meat thermometer, you'll have perfectly cooked meat every single time. Usually on the thermometer package, it will say what to cook different kinds of meat to what temperature to cook it to.
So Google can be your best friend.
Yeah, exactly.
While you're cooking, what is the internal temperature of
chicken or beef,
meatballs or whatever?
Yeah.
I cannot cook without my meat thermometer because I like my meat to be perfect, and so I check like my meat at all times. Like I set a timer to look and be like, okay, I don't want to overcook my chicken, so I'm checking it. Like, meat thermometer is huge for me.
Awesome. Okay, so easy to have on hand proteins, okay? So a lot of these things we've been talking about do take some prep work, and I realize that it takes time, it takes work. But there are proteins you can have on hand that you can just pull out if you're in a bind. So, my favorite, of course, is your IdealLean Protein powder. Okay, if you're like, oh, I don't have any protein on hand, you just grab some carbs or some fat, grab a scoop of protein powder with some water, and you have a balanced meal right there, okay? So protein powder is the easiest for sure. You don't even have to like keep it cold or anything, just throw it in your pantry. Also, things like cottage cheese, you can just keep in your fridge, Greek yogurt. If people freak out about plain Greek yogurt, you just have to sweeten it a little bit, stir in some stevia, and it's perfect.
Peanut butter?
Yeah, peanut butter, fruit, things like that to just kind of give it more flavor. I even like to stir in a little bit of sugar-free pudding powder, just a little bit, like a teaspoon or so, and it kind of thickens it up and makes it taste like pudding, basically. Beef jerky, tuna packets are great to keep on hand. You can just eat it straight out of the packet if you're in a bind. What else? Do you have anything else that you like to keep on hand? It doesn't require prep. Hard-boiled eggs, yes.
I mean,
well, no,
prep,
you prep it, but then you can keep it for a while.
Yeah, we love hard-boiled eggs.
Yes, for sure. Those were the ones I was thinking of, I believe. Protein bars. You can keep protein bars on hand. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Versatility. She's going to talk about how you can turn something into lots of different things.
Okay, so kind of like I said with the burrito bowl. So some people, I think, have a hard time with prepping because they say, well, if I make this food for myself, what are my kids going to eat for dinner? And I don't want to make two separate meals and all this kind of stuff. Well, let me just tell you, you don't have to. When I prep on Monday, I make extra of what I make for my kids. Not necessarily the same exact thing. So take this burrito bowl, okay? what I do for my kids is I warm up a tortilla. I put this filling in a tortilla, put some cheese on it, and they get a burrito.
Yes.
So they get burritos for dinner, but I have already prepped this. I've made this for myself for the week, and they get to eat it. Okay, so the same also with meatballs. So I'll make extra meatballs for my kids, and I'll put like ketchup on top of it, or you know, a different kind of barbecue sauce or marinade. They'll get potatoes with it, and you know, other types of veggies. But I will make extra of these, and they get it for a dinner as well. I think people have a really hard time with wanting to prep because they think it's a lot more extra work, when in reality it's not, because you can feed your kids what you're eating. You just give them more portions or change it up a little bit. Also, like I said, like, I don't want to eat this every single day, so sometimes I just add lettuce to it, and it changes the taste completely. Like, you don't need to keep like doing the same exact things. Or like I said with the these are my favorite mason jar salads, guys. All you have to do is shake this, and you can eat it straight from, my husband eats it from the container at home, and I just dump it and put it on a plate.
So tell us what you have in here.
So this is a Cobb salad. I use the Opa Greek yogurt dressing, the ranch dressing, and then there's cucumbers in it, hard-boiled egg, chicken, bacon, and then lettuce.
Awesome.
And you can use whatever kind of lettuce, you can use whatever kind of dressing.
So this keeps it fresh.
This keeps it fresh. And like the lettuce really doesn't, everyone's like, does it really stay good? We can keep it the full, like, till Sunday, and it's good. Like, and
That's
people
awesome.
love these mason jar salads because they're easy, they're convenient. And if you have like chicken on hand, like you can make your own salads all the time.
So notice how her dressing is not touching her lettuce. That's probably what helps keep it fresh, huh?
Yep, that's like, there's a layering
Tight.
method to it. Yeah. And then the jar. Another thing is like this, for instance, fajitas. You can make this meal. This one has rice with it and sour cream and lime or whatever, but I'll make extra of this and just put it on like a fajita for my kids. Mm-hmm. So there's options and ways around cooking and meal prepping to have food on hand for you and your family. And I think people have a really hard time with like, oh, but I can't do this because of my family, and I don't want to make 2 meals, and it's too much work to do that. So
that's a huge point. I get asked that like daily. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I want to do your challenges, but I don't want to have to cook 2 meals for my family. And I try to tell them it's not cooking 2 meals, it's just adapting. You know, I mean, yeah, if you would be serving your family like macaroni and cheese, that's a little tricky to adapt. But you want to transform your family's lives too, right? And help them eat healthier.
So even like too, if I make like a meal with just like chicken and broccoli and rice for clients or for myself or for meal prep, what I've even done and I've shown on my Instagram is I'll take that same exact meal and I'll put it in a pot, and I'll add like seasoning or cheese and other things to it, and my kids are like, oh, this is so good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we have this like plainer version of it, and they get this yummier version of it.
Or you can create something and throw it on a bun, and it's like a sloppy joe for them, whereas you put it on a salad or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, storage. So this is something I do. You can chime in if you do something different. If I make a whole bunch of meat, I'll usually keep like 3 days or so fresh, and then throw a bunch in the freezer. Then you can pull that out of the freezer in a couple days, and it's like fresh again. So you can really last like if you're prepping for yourself, a bunch of meat, you can make it last like over a week if you're throwing half of it in the freezer, like 8 or 9 days. So people don't realize that, you know, keep some fresh in your fridge, throw the rest in a bag in the freezer, and then you don't even have to do it every week if you time it right. Do you have any tips on how to store anything?
No, that's exactly what I do. I always make extra meat, throw it in the freezer. You never know, like, what you're going to cook. I mean, you know what you're going to cook during the week, but sometimes you just need that extra meat for something. There's sometimes you just need to bring a meal to somebody, and you're like, oh, I have meat in my freezer, you know? So it's so nice to be able to just do extra. Even like with the shredded chicken, I'll shred a bunch more chicken, and I'll have it shredded in the freezer for easy to grab type stuff.
Yeah, and it thaws pretty fast, especially if you don't freeze like tons of it in a bag, so it'll take forever to thaw. But you can do like I even do portions
sometimes. I'll do like a portion. Like if I'm gonna do like if I know a meal or like say soup. Okay, it's easy. Like if you need soup for chicken noodles or chicken for chicken noodle soup, I'll portion out like 2 cups of chicken, and I'll write on my bag like there's 2 cups of chicken in this bag. Mm-hmm. So
do you write that like there's 2 cups?
No, not there's just 2 cups.
Okay, so that was, do we have questions?
Yeah, what
Okay.
storage containers do you recommend?
Ooh, great question. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
You can.
Okay, so I like to use, just anything from the store. One thing I don't like about buying like the big packs from the store is I feel like there's lots of sizes in there that I don't really use, you know? I like the containers that IsoBag uses personally. You can go on the website and buy them, or you can get meal prep containers on Amazon. What brands were you saying that you liked?
So are they talking about containers for meal prepping?
Yeah, I think so.
So I love, recently I've started using the Fit Packer.
Mm-hmm.
They hold up. They're a lot sturdier.
Or this Fit Packer, we can show them kind of the
This
sizes.
one is.
This one is.
I don't totally know what brand this is on.
Should we look
This
this
one's on
on?
Amazon. If you look on Amazon, another thing that I do is I always look at the reviews, the star ratings. If they're higher, you know they're gonna be better. But I've gotten containers that fall apart like crazy. The lids break. You use them one time, and it's like they're garbage. So I'm still trying to figure out which ones I love the most. I mean, obviously containers, after you reheat them, reuse them, wash them, they're not gonna hold up completely. But the
They
Fit
will
Packer
hold up for a little while.
and Meal Prep Haven, they also do good sturdy ones as well. And then some people, I have clients that love like glass ones. So I'll use, for some people, like glass containers so they can reheat it in their toaster or broil it or whatever.
Cool. I also, for myself, a lot of times will just use baggies. Like if I have a bunch of chicken and some rice and I'm planning on throwing over a salad, I'll just throw it in a baggie. And so then I just grab my salad baggie, my chicken and rice baggie, throw it in a bowl. So that wouldn't work obviously for prepping for other people, but
Right.
for yourself, baggies is totally fine.
Yep.
Any other questions, Emily?
No.
Okay, perfect. Some closing thoughts.
I just feel like people think that meal prep is too much work. So we're kind of trying to show you that baby steps is like the way to do it. So if you want to just like prep chicken and start with like the smaller steps, so you don't get overwhelmed or it's not too hard for you. For me, like people are like, how do you do it? Like how do you make so many meals, or how do you have all this on hand? And you guys, I didn't used to do that. Like I had to start somewhere, and I started with the easy basic things, and now I've progressed to be able to make full meals for the week for not only my family but like for other people. But it starts with just the little basic stuff. So don't get scared to like just start somewhere, and if you screw it up, like try again, because it's okay.
And you can even take it one meal at a time. Like, okay, I'm going to prep all my lunches for the week and only think about that,
Totally.
And we're going to teach you guys how to look at a meal plan, like maybe one of the days of my 15-day challenge or something, and break that down into how you actually go about prepping that. Okay, that's one of our episodes. So my thought is, it can be super hard to get enough protein in your diet, especially if you're lifting weights, working out hard, and just being like an active person. You need a solid amount of protein, like protein with each meal. And if you don't have it prepped, it can be tricky. We talked about some of the proteins to just keep on hand for those times when you're in a bind, and everybody gets in those kind of situations. But it's so helpful if you've always just got protein, even if you don't go to the extent of making out your meals. But just keeping protein cooked in advance is so helpful. And it doesn't take any more time than if you're making chicken with dinner, throw on 3 extra chicken breasts. If you're making ground beef with your dinner, there's lots of times where I only need a pound of ground beef for tacos, for example, but I'll brown up 2 pounds, and then before I season it for tacos, I'll throw a pound in the freezer. And you can use it for something else, spaghetti or meatballs or something later. Also, don't be afraid of simple. So same thing, kind of like if you get caught in a bind but you have your protein on hand, don't be afraid of just throwing some chicken and some rice and some veggies and a little bit of a sauce or something together. It does not have to be elaborate. You don't have to have, fancy meals all the time. Simple is easy. Simple is simple, and it's not overwhelming. Yeah, it totally works. So before we finish up, my favorite protein to have on hand is IdealLean Protein. Chocolate coconut is my favorite flavor, like seriously, of all time. All the flavors are really good, but chocolate coconut is my favorite. And if you head on over to IdealFit.com, they are on sale right now for $29.99, all flavors, which is a little bit cheaper than they normally are, so now is a great time to go do that. And this is our episode number 1. We did it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have more questions or things that you'd like to see in the future, leave them in the comments and we will check back, and we want to give you guys what you want to see. So we will see you guys next Thursday at 10 a.m. right here.